Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggty. Bottom right hand corner we have Kimchi Boy, aka Royal, starting as the yellow Terran. Bottom left hand corner we have Free starting as the purple Protoss. This is StarCastTV and should be an exciting one. Of relevant note, in ASL Season 12 these two guys faced off. In that instance, Royal was the victor. I feel like Free's been bouncing in and out of ASL, where Royal has been more of a steady presence. Free, honestly, in some of the showings, it's almost as Free as like scooting by and hanging on by the grips of his teeth. I'm looking for him to return to form. One of the 6 dragons. Statistically, his best matchup is versus Terran, but honestly, I feel like as of late, he has been relying on almost, I'm going to use the stereotypical term, Ogre Protoss tactics, mix it up instead of the Ogre Zerg tactics, where he oftentimes will try to just stick to Gateway Man style, try to bully his way through, try to punish any sort of Terran third, and play the game from there, which works really well if you get an early game economic advantage. However, I feel like just a number of his Terran opponents have looked at the style of play and have found ways to cut corners, not against just any Protoss, but against Free's style of play in particular. And I'm hoping to see Free return to form with a few adjustments here and a few adjustments there. Speaking of which, it looks like Royal, setting up a barracks on the low ground, is potentially looking to go ahead and grab a quick natural expansion. I've seen this so often lately, I'm almost wondering if this is becoming a standard meta thing for Terran, or if it's just one of those vengeance meta things where it's Protoss pulling off 14 Nexus, or pulling off 12 Nexus so often, it's the Terran's turn to start doing the Rex into expansion build over and over again. SCV Scout moving to the upper right hand corner. Solid play on a 4-player map, less likely to get scouted right off the bat. Free dropping the Assimilator and the Cybernetic Score before the Zealot, and moving that Probe Scout out. We'll see if and it looks like he is going to end up scouting to the upper left hand corner first, so he's going to come across Royal's base last, which means it is highly likely that Royal is going to pull this off. Looks like we'll wait for that 100 minerals to cycle in. It looks like an initial Zealot is not going to be built by Free, instead plopping down an additional pylon instead. So, no initial Zealot pressure, and it is going to be up to Free in the mid-game to either apply some pressure early to force some sort of economic disruption, or to get some economic aggression done himself. But at the very least, Royal looks like he's going to be able to pull off the early command center fairly efficiently here. It looks like a refinery being dropped as well. Free still cycling to that upper right corner, and on top of everything else, going to get an earlier scout off inside Free's base. So verifying no initial Zealot, seeing the Cybernetics Core spinning, so getting an absolute eyeful, and it looks like he should be able to actually pull that SCV out no problem as well. So cycling back down just in case. So I like that double take move right there. So moving out of range just in case there might have been a cancellation, then moving back into range to confirm that range wasn't canceled for the Dragoons. And this could be disastrous for Free as well. So the probe being pushed back by the 2 Marines, so he's not even able to confirm that this natural expansion is up. A bunker in place, and that first Dragoon going ahead and checking out additional locations. So Free gonna grab that Nexus behind this, and again trying to peek forward. So he knows that bunker's there, but he doesn't know for certain that that command center, he's got to suspect potentially there's a command center there, but doesn't know beyond a shadow of a doubt. So he's going to need to play a little bit more passively. Probe waiting on the wall. That Dragoon's still holding fast, so it doesn't look like it wants to proceed forward to get any confirmation. Another Dragoon holding to the north to potentially deny a scout moving in down the line. It looks like range just about to finish. Still no movement, and that probe going to come back home. SCV pocketed that 12 o'clock location. Let's see if it goes for a delayed scout. Second gas being grabbed by Royal. He's already got that first factory just about constructed and proceeding on his merry way. So Free tacking on an additional gateway. He does have a robotics facility, so 2-gate robo to follow it up. Let's see if he opts to go support bay first, or if he does in fact decide to go observer first. Royal's SCV now making its way across. Dragoon there to intercept it. It's already taken a tack of damage, but at the very least isn't going to be able to confirm the natural expansion, although I don't think that is much of a worry for Royal at this stage. Engineering Bay in construction, Armory, Academy is already up, Comsat should be online momentarily, and a pylon wall being constructed to help deal against potential vulture pressure, and a full seal now on the front for Royal with that bunker along the edge. That SCV still persistently remaining pocketed in that 9 o'clock location to maybe get a look at the Dragoon count to follow things up, to try to get an idea. It looks like it was an observatory first down here underneath the robotics facility, getting that initial observer out. And I don't think Free, first of all, losing a lot of opportunity, grabbing that second assimilator now, is almost going to be relegated to need to make that move towards a third base. I think that SCV is hanging out at that 9 o'clock location, wants to try to confirm an initial comsat drop by Royal to get eyes into free space. The observer making its way across to go ahead and get information the opposite side. Missile turrets up to go ahead and respect Reaver and DT play. And that second factory coming online, several siege tanks filtering in, and +1 weapons on the way. Secondary problem for Free is when Royal is able to just do this sit back macro establish upgrade style, he is incredibly efficient, and his army movements across maps are honestly, in my opinion, the best feature of his game. He's got really solid macro, but just the positioning and the engagements are absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. Observer sneaking in is going to confirm the third factory. I think looking at all of this tech has to realize that, okay, yeah, slight economic disadvantage. SCV hiding in the far corner, trying to stay away from these Dragoons, does in fact get spotted. But I think that also gives an indication to Royal that there might be a movement towards a third base. Second machine shot being dropped. Vulture speed going to come online. That will allow some latent pressure out on the map. The Dragoons starting to stage forward to maybe engage those vultures before they become more of a nuisance out on the map. Peeking for it. So the observer saw the vultures move out. You can see the Dragoons trying to mirror their movements to the north, able to get a few shots, at the very least, is hurting them to the north and away from additional expansion, and particularly away from scouting information either at the mineral only, which has not yet been grabbed by Free, or the 9 o'clock base. I do worry about Free at this stage because he's let this be 2 base versus 2 base for quite some time. And Royal, seeing those Dragoons chase after this, is going to go ahead and grab a third base. So we got 4 gateways out, but that's, keep in mind, versus the third, it looks like it is going to be movements to 2 base Arbiter for Free, maybe to get earlier recalls, but he does need to play economic catch-up of some kind. Grabbing that 9 o'clock base behind the Arbiter tech, this is going to allow faster energy for that Arbiter. So we'll see if Royal has the solid follow-up. One thing on this map is it can be difficult to defend all of your holdings, particularly as a Terran when you're starting to make movements towards potentially grabbing your fourth. Comsat dropped. I'm not sure if you got eyes of that Arbiter or not. We'll see if some Goliaths start filtering in. SCVs now making their way. +1 weapons online. Movement towards +2. Some nice mine placement in the upper left-hand corner to be a bit of a nuisance down the line. There's already a pylon wall up for Free, and Royal's just happy to go ahead and let Free grab that 9 o'clock base because he's already up and mining at this inside mineral only. Also, look at this, scooping up, getting ready for a drop out in the main, but looks like Free right on top of it, blowing it out of the water. So a bit of a boon right there. It looks like a cannon warping in to help defend anything that gets missed in the future. But Royal really doesn't need to press into Free. So I think it's a little bit of an empty drop, but really wasn't needed. Factories being tacked on for Royal. Has the double armory cycling to get those weapons upgrades. Looks like some Dragoons and Observers are here in the upper left-hand corner to potentially sweep out something in that sector of the map. Free also making sure these mines are cleared out, and I like that he's doing it with just a few Dragoons to not reveal too much. A probe making its way to the upper left, and so rather than expanding towards his opponent, man, Royal's just being so economically aggressive here. He's going to go ahead and grab that 6 o'clock base before Free is even able to stage up and grab some bases in the upper left-hand corner. And it looks like Free also not feeling very comfortable grabbing this mineral only, since it is a base in the direction of Royal, and really respecting Royal's ability to create those siege lines. Engineering bay and supply depot to create a bit of a mess should there be an engagement from the bottom left. Some troops making their way across to maybe harass this, but honestly, too little too late. The Dragoons aren't going to be able to make their way up the map against that siege tank line behind the engineering bay and the rest of those placements. Stasis being researched for initial arbiters. Vultures making their way across as well. There's also some mine placement right there, and it looks like Free just wants to try to maybe double expand here in the upper left-hand corner. Royal sees that probe in position. Might be able to rush some vultures up there, but there is a wall of Dragoons and an observer in the way. 2 photon cannons morphing along the way. And this is where it becomes challenging for a Terran player, because you got 4 bases and a wide space to defend. But Royal is decently close in supply, has a good amount of vultures to speed between locations, and is happy to just sit back and make his way towards 200-200. And the supply count right now, because of Royal's strong economy, is just about even, which is not where a Protoss player wants to be at this stage of the match. A couple mine hits getting some damage on some Dragoons mid-map as well. So Free, he's got the double arbiter out on the field. He sacked getting a quick third for that, so needs to make something happen. It looks like recall not that far off from being researched. The observer just peeking forward to try to see what the situation here is at the 6 o'clock base. Maybe going to be a prime target here for that recall. In the meantime, you see Royal staging up for a recall back at home base. Has all sorts of mines along that factory line, just in case that was going to be the target location. It looks like he realizes that this is going to be a recall attempt from Free as well. Here comes that arbiter swinging its way across. Few mines in place, only a single siege tank. EMP misses. The Dragoons land with the Zealots. Nice defense matrix, going to absorb some damage. The Dragoons trying to make their way up from that left-hand side, but siege tanks and reinforcements coming from that right edge. And it looks like they're going to be there in time to clean things up before those Dragoons are able to take down the wall from the left. So they'd still have to walk in piecemeal against several siege tanks, so Free just going to have to back up. And with that, Royal taking a sizable supply lead. Free grabbing another base in the upper left. He needs to get a move on in the macro game to just keep up with what Royal's dishing out. Multitude of gateways behind this. Does have a second Stargate up. Rolling the upgrades as well. +1 weapons right here versus the +2, +1 armor. So at the moment, Royal does have the superior troops on the ground. Vultures making their way upper left. Double gateways blockading, but he knows at least that's in the way. It looks like a nice trapping maneuver here from Free. Going to be able to catch some of these vultures to the north. They're going to try to exit. At the very least, Free has been very, very studious at keeping these vultures from running absolutely everywhere on the map. Whenever they've peeked out, he's tried to mitigate their locations. Second recall attempt, 6 o'clock location. Only a single siege tank, the rest are vultures going in. Looks like getting the better end of this time, as Royal was making movements towards that upper right-hand corner. More siege tanks streaming in. There is now an open window. That engineering bay taking fire as well. But is Free going to go for it? A lot of Dragoons know he's going to back up. Wasn't able to get to the high ground as of yet. But this is going to alleviate pressure that might have been rolling to another location for Free, and maybe just hoping to catch up in the upgrade battle and buy himself some time to get towards the late game. Royal, however, not having any of it, starting to move forward against that Dragoon line with all of those Zealots and troops expended with that recall at the 6 o'clock location. Steadily laying a troop line. Free needs to defend this cliff, because that could be the game for him. because it is just a hop, skip, and a jump from there to the natural expansion, at which point he will be boxed in. Few vultures making their way to the north. Looks like one of the gateways was canceled, so potentially going to make a run there. Free clearing out the mines to maybe make a push. Good stasis, hitting a large amount of the siege tanks. Royal reinforcing from the south. A few vultures in the way, but there's still enough troops, it looks like, for Royal to go ahead and push the rest of this back. And this is what I mean by Royal. Even with the huge stasis right here, the positioning and the reinforcements just paying off. Single Zealot looks like it was creating some disruption here at the 3 o'clock base. The SCVs are going to be able to get to work there to go ahead and grab yet another expansion. Royal taking some free fire from these Arbiters. These Arbiters, though, out of energy. Free wanting to re-engage and maybe seal a prize here of these stasis troops. However, Royal not having any of it. Goliath's coming out of stasis, forcing those Arbiters back. And Free needs to get some troops stage forward immediately as Royal, with that stasis coming out of lock, moving forward, level 3 weapons, level 2 armor this time. Pushing up that cliffside edge. Free in a lot of trouble here. Big EMP as well. And now there's not a lot of troops for Free to break through the containment at his natural expansion. Arbiter that was over that cliff edge getting EMP'd as well, just in case it had any support. Some reinforcements coming from the north. But will they be in time, and will they be sufficient to stop this? Goliath cleaning up that Arbiter from the rear. More siege tanks coming in. Not even bothering to siege here. Free desperately trying to attack that natural expansion. The Dragoons getting slightly distracted. Now trying to, might need to engage these siege tanks at the 9 o'clock as Free broke off a little bit of that attack trooping to take a punch into his economy. And I love this, recognizing that reinforcements are coming from the left, creating a disruptive line of vultures to cut off Free's odds. So now Free, very likely in an end game scenario here, trying to punch through with what he has. Arbiter is overhead. There's a lot of stasis troop, but a bunch of troops come out of stasis as those reinforcements are able to get there. Looks like he was able to clean up the threat at that 9 o'clock bridge, but not able to stop the greater threat of siege tanks and vultures in his natural. That is where the majority of his forces were going to be fielded from. Losing his natural expansion nexus, he does have a whole lot of gateways to play refugee style here in the upper left, but Royal not missing a beat, leaving a bit of a skeleton crew in 2 siege tanks and a handful of mines, regrouping, going to take out reinforcements that were making their way across the middle of the map to try to break that siege line, leaving 2 siege tanks here, a hero probe trying to take that siege tank out, and Royal just going to sweep across the plateau in the upper left-hand corner and go to work. 3 o'clock base is up online. He's going to go ahead and grab that upper right-hand corner and just keep up that brutal macro behind it. Free down 50 supply. I don't know that he's going to be able to save the upper left-hand corner, let alone that 9 o'clock location. That was a critical mining base for him at this stage, particularly considering Royal taking all sorts of real estate all over the map. And Free now getting obliterated. This 9 o'clock base in breach. It looks like he is able to get some reinforcing troops to clean up the vultures, but not before all of the probes have been leveled from that location. Free down to just 29 workers at this stage of the match as he's getting boxed into the upper left-hand corner. 9 o'clock base has been, the attack there has at least been repelled. But things are looking ugly, and I'm honestly shocked that Free is not GG'd yet. Royal regrouping, collapsing again on the troops near that 9 o'clock base. I don't think there's any saving the 9 o'clock base at this location, assuming Free recognizes there's no defense. They're going to GG. Fun one overall. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.